The member for Forde.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Trade, Tourism and Investment. Will the Minister outline how Australians working in the tourism sector will benefit from the 2018 Commonwealth Games? And what support has the Coalition Government given to the 2018 Commonwealth Games, and is the Minister aware of any risks to the timely completion of Games infrastructure?
The Minister for Trade and Investment and Tourism.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And I thank the member for Forde for his question. I know that he's personally, like the other Gold Coast members, very excited about the upcoming 2018 Commonwealth Games. And in fact, yesterday marked 500 days until the Gold Coast hosts the 2018 Games. It will be, Mr Speaker, one of the biggest sporting events in Australia this decade, and the largest that's ever been hosted by the Gold Coast. In fact, the Coalition recognises the significant benefits that will be associated with hosting 6,600 athletes from 71 nations in front of some 1.5 million spectators and an estimated television audience of around 1.5 billion people. The Games will attract more than 100,000 visitors to the Gold Coast and generate an estimated economic boost of some $2 billion, as well as leaving a legacy of good quality sports and other infrastructure for the city. That's part of the reason why the Coalition Government has invested $156 million in the Commonwealth Games, and I was pleased we were also able to secure an extra $15 million for the redevelopment of the Metricon Stadium precinct, including the facilities for the Gold Coast Suns. But I note the member for Forde also asked about risks to the timely completion of the Commonwealth Games infrastructure. And I've got to say, Mr Speaker, unfortunately, yes, there are risks that the infrastructure will not be completed in time for the Commonwealth Games. You see, the unlawful activities of good friends of the Australian Labor Party, the unions, in particular the militant and extreme CFMEU, are providing a direct risk to the successful completion of Games infrastructure and indeed of the Games village for the athletes themselves. For months, we have witnessed the CFMEU deliberately causing delays, threatening safety officers and blowing out costs for the Commonwealth Games infrastructure. And indeed, Mr Speaker, only last week we saw reports of sabotage on the Commonwealth Games village at Parklands. And we saw the CFMEU, no doubt being very good-natured, lodge yet another complaint about the Parklands site, claiming concerns over safety. Now, what we saw reported, though, Mr Speaker, was that there were a large number of pens used to go and support the actual scaffolding around sites themselves that mysteriously vanished. And the CFMEU officials claim that this had nothing to do with them and had nothing to do with Grocon, even though, quite strangely, Mr Speaker, it just so happens that the militant and extreme CFMEU are in dispute with Grocon over an EBA. That's the reason why the Labor Party and this seat of the opposition can simply not be trusted to make decisions in Australia's national interest, because they're not putting Australia first, they're about putting unions first.